I'm tempted to respond to the previous speaker somewhat. I think as a representative of men who feel comfortable in dresses.
Sorry, brother.
Mind you, I was listening to a nun recently making exactly the same point, and she was saying, you know, God doesn't like this mutilating of the face and cosmetic surgery and Botox. If you feel ugly, join the clergy. It's been working for generations. Now, having said that, back on the topic, I do feel radically ill-qualified to speak on this topic. You probably notice I'm neither Muslim nor female, and which makes me an odd choice to speak on what women should be allowed to wear. Even so, I appreciate the idea is to get a broad spectrum from the community, and coming from the white male Protestant end of the community, I guess I can share my thoughts at that level. I must say, though, that the issue is one I find it hard to get my head around as a whole, because it's not simply a thing of Muslim practices being in tension with the non-Muslim population of our area. Many Muslim people in this country and around the world are actually opposed to the wearing of the burqa, and indeed all forms of veiling. And conversely, some of those who wear the burqa are not Muslims. They're Orthodox Jews, Jewish women, for instance, in Israel, who wear burqas. And indeed, if you go back in history, you'll find any number of Christian people from the Church Fathers onwards who are very much in favour of the practice of veiling. So it's complicated, and I know every complex problem always has a simple answer, but it's always the wrong answer, and never more so than in this case, I think. You know, women should be able to wear whatever they want. You know, that's a simple answer, but I suspect a lot of women who choose to wear burqas wouldn't agree with that. You know, the burqa is a symbol of female oppression and has no place in this country, is another simple response. But I mean, even if that statement were true, the solution to women's oppression is surely not to implement laws that restrict women in their choices about what they can wear. I mean, yes, it's complex and requires a complex answer, and the problem takes on different dimensions in different countries and cultures where it's been debated. You know, in France, in Belgium, in Turkey, in Syria, in Tunisia, here. Having said that, despite all the complexities, I do think there are two things which I think are reasonably straightforward from my perspective. Two things. The first is that the wearing of the burqa in this country is a very minor issue. I mean, despite all the fuss being made about wearing a burqa, so what I can see, hardly anybody is actually wearing it. The Muslim population in this country, from the statistics I can see, is still around 2%, maybe even less, and the number of Muslim people wearing burqas in the Muslim community, maybe 2% of that. I'm not exactly sure, but however you do the figures, we are not at risk of being overtaken by a group of burqa-wearing women. I mean, the second point, and it's related to the first, is I think it's reasonably clear that what's driving most Australian people in their concern about the burqa is not particularly a passion for women's rights any more than it's concerned about possible security issues that might be raised if everybody starts wearing burqas. I think on the whole it's rather just a simple fear of the unknown and a sense of alienation for what seems to be a very foreign dress code. Now, interesting in this regard, I was reading some autobiographical notes from a woman called Karen Armstrong, who was a nun in Britain during the swinging 60s, and she was talking about wearing a very burqa-esque sort of habit that they used to wear, where you could only see the front portion of their faces. And I took a quote from her. She said, "Catholicism was still feared as unassimilable, irredeemably alien to the British ethos, fanatically opposed to democracy and freedom, and a fifth column allied to dangerous enemies abroad. Today," she says, "the veiled Muslim woman appears to symbolise the perceived Islamic threat as nuns once epitomised the evils of popery." And I can appreciate for the dominant culture of that day, the sudden appearance of nuns on the street would have been confronting and unsettling for lots of people in the community. I mean, subsequently, I think experience revealed that we really didn't have a lot to fear from nuns. And I think we'll find, similarly, we don't have a lot to fear from veiled Islamic women either. I mean, of course, the veil appears to be alien to the dominant culture in this country at the moment. I mean, but the solution to that is surely not to increase alienation by going to war with people who want to wear it. I mean, the solution to overcoming alienation and fears surely to sit down and talk dialogue with people, you know, and ask them, see if these fears are based on reality or, in fact, on misunderstanding. You know, I think in this context it means asking more Islamic women, which I'm going to pass to in a moment, especially just to speak and so we can better understand why some people choose to veil. You know, do they wear the burqa for reasons of personal piety, or is it more a protest against colonialism or a secular society? For in truth, the burqa in different contexts can mean all those things. I mean, as I say, I can only speak for a white male Protestant type perspective, and I'm not sure how many white male Protestants even though I represent. But I think I can say with some confidence that most of us white male Protestant types are pretty ignorant of Islam and of Islamic culture and of the role the burqa has played historically and culturally in any number of places where it has been worn. And so our initial response to those who do not conform to our dress code must surely be to try and understand why these persons don't conform, rather than try and force conformity upon them. Thanks.
Thank you.